Alright, Shalom. We're the Hebrew Israelites coming out week in and week out to prophesy the downfall of America. First and foremost, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh Shai, Shem, God. No honor to the apostles, elders, great millstones. Peace, love, and blessings for the hope of the elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, pushing the word in truth and in sincerity. Alright, Shalom to you. That's what we do, week in and week out. We're out here prophesying, getting the information out about what's really going on in the world, man. You have a lot of misinformation out there, man. You know, you got a lot of jakes. Hey, and a lot of these people are set up. You know, they come up on the comment boards, speak madness. You look at their page and they ain't got nothing on their page, man. But they'll leave a comment as if they were the smartest person on the fucking earth. I commented underneath one, or somebody, because I commented on something, because somebody on the comment board said that Levi wasn't a tribe. And so I put Revelation 7 where it talks about the tribe of Levi. And underneath it, some guy comes up on the comment board talking about phenotypes and haplogroups. And it's like, these people, they don't understand the scriptures. They don't read the Bible. Alright, but they'll watch a video that Esau does about genetics. And we'll take it like it's a gospel, man. And here it is, this person believes that Esau, the so-called white man is Esau, he's the devil. Yet he's gonna follow after Esau and his indoctrination. And he'll literally come against you. You're over here preaching the truth, talking about what's real. And you got all these idiots on the comment board. Have no idea what's going on. And like I said, I think a lot of them are set up, man. Because you go on their page and they literally have nothing on their page. But that's the type of stuff that we deal with, because you have to realize this thing isn't going to be solved by phenotypes and haplogroups, man. This is by faith. This is through the words of Yahweh that the peoples of the earth are identified. That's why the 12 tribes chart is by faith. Alright, you had as Apostle Tar would bring out the high priest Arya said he woke up at like 3 in the morning and started breaking down the tribe. That's the Holy Spirit, man. And when you look at the breakdown, it makes sense. And it's by faith. The breakdown is by the word of Yahweh. It's not by some genetic code. It's not by phenotypes and haplogroups. Alright, because you have jakes out there. A lot of them from the tribe of Judah that believe that only the so-called Negroes can be Israelites. Alright? Which makes absolutely no sense. Matthew 13 and 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. servants. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather you up first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So why did Yahushua put forth that parable? If all Israel is going to be looking like so-called Negroes, and that's the identification right there. You know, you could just go get your blood drawn and check your phenotypes and haplogroups, and you can know, oh, see, look, I'm an Israelite because Esau's genetics told me so. Then why was that parable put forth? Because the same asshole, that unfaithful person that's putting up these different things on the comment board, you could be an Edomite and not even know it, man. All right, because Esau is a faithless demon. So you putting up all this faithless, you need facts, you need hard evidence, all right? You need phenotypes and haplogroups to tell you that you're an Israelite. Well, you might just be a terror, man. You might be a fucking Edomite, man. And you don't even realize it. See, because what you got to understand is that Israel is mixed among the nations. Esau is also mixed among the nations. Alright? You so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, like obviously, when it comes to the Northern Kingdom, I've seen a lot of Jakes from the Northern Kingdom, so-called Mexicans. They look like straight up blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boys, but they're not. I mean, you wouldn't even know until they started speaking Spanish. And you'd be like, oh, damn. And then even then, it could be a terror. It could be a Spaniard, but at the same time, you know, not everybody that looks like that is a terror. Not everybody that looks like a straight-up Judite is an Israelite. So phenotypes and haplogroups don't solve the problem. That's why you have people like this guy, this comedian that died. His name was Patrice O'Neal. O'Neal is an Irish last name. This was a straight up so-called Negro, man. You can look him up, Patrice O'Neal. But he's got an Irish last name. Why is that? That's because in Ireland, Scotland, and England, okay, you had so-called Negroes that were ruling the British Isles. And when Cromwell got the edict to exterminate and destroy the British Isles, you had hundreds of thousands, if not more, Israelites being sold into slavery, being killed, exterminated, raped, robbed, murdered. Just like the Israelites over here, just like the Israelites in West Africa. This was happening in Spain, in Italy, in Greece, in Rome, in Turkey. This was happening in the British Isles, Ireland, England, Scotland. Why? Because Israelites were dominating Europe during the time of the Byzantine and Holy Roman Empire, during the time of the Moors. Alright? Shit, all the way up into like the 1600s, man. See, because all this, people started to change to get real light when Esau started to come down from the branch out from the Caucasus Mountains and was conquering shit, man. Why you think the Chinese and the Japanese look the way that they do, man? So Esau is also spread out among the nations.
Yeah, and when the brother said look the way that they do, he's talking about their skin complexion. Because Moab and Ammon look cheeky because they're incest babies. But the way they got their complexion, the white skin, goes through Esau. This is 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance, or on the height So when people judge is according to outward appearances. But the Lord said, hey, he don't judge that way. That in this time, this generation, okay, you're still going to have Israelites judging according to the outward appearance. You're going to have Israelites judge a man according to what they see. Alright? Now, according to these black Hebrew Israelites, anybody that looks black is an Israelite. But what about Ham? Well, there's a lot of Hamites that are mingled amongst our people, and vice versa. And you won't know unless you judge that man according to his spirit. And the only way you can do that is through the Spirit. Okay? You got Israelites that are Israelites according to the Spirit. Okay? According to their spirit, not according to their flesh. Alright? Because there is Edomites that look like our people. And there's Israelites that look like Edomites, man. You know? So the Lord, he judges according to the heart. Alright? This is not of the flesh. Okay? The elect isn't all going to come into the truth. Like everybody's been saying, looking like Wesley Snipes, man. Not everybody's going to be super dark skinned with the afro, man. Okay?
And the reason why you can't see that is because you'll listen to another man tell you some madness and won't look into it for yourself. You're too lazy to do the work for yourself, man. Because if you looked into history, if you looked things up and researched things and actually read the scriptures, you would... It's plain, it's clear to see, it's obvious, man. Alright, even in that Jeremiah talks about the mingled people in the midst of Babylon. Alright? Because ever since World War II, when they established the United Nations, because World War I they established the League of Nations. After World War II, basically, that's when Esau got control of the whole earth, man. You had a lot of nations that were still, you had a lot of Jakes that were still, I want to say, not totally destroyed. After World War II, Esau basically completely took over now and occupied all these different lands. And before that, you have all different types of captivities that the Israelites were going through. You had the Babylonian captivity. You had the Medo-Persian Empire. You know, you had the Greek Empire, which we know Israelites during the time of the Greeks mingled themselves among the Grecians, right? Then you had the Roman Empire. So Jake was already scattered throughout all kinds of provinces, man. That's why you had the seven churches of Asia Minor. Okay, that's why you had the Byzantine Empire that was set up in Turkey, man. Because you had a lot of Jakes that were living in Turkey at that time. You had a lot of Jakes that were in Rome. That's how the Holy Roman Empire came about, because Israel had taken over after Rome fell. And what do you think they were doing to the Edomite women when Esau was being driven up into the Caucasus Mountains, man? What do you think happened to Esau when that was going on, man? We're going to prove it through the scriptures. This is 1 Ezra 8 and 69. The nation of Israel, the princes, the priests, and Levites have not put away from them the strange people of the land, nor the pollutions of the Gentiles. What does that mean by pollutions of the Gentiles? It's talking about their gods. It's talking about their customs. So they had to put away those pollutions, right? To wit of the Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, and the Moabites, Egyptians and Edomites, for both they and their sons have married with their daughters, and the holy seed is mixed with the strange people of the land. This was back during the Medo-Persian Empire. Alright? Which is thousands of years ago. So if Israelites were mixing thousands of years ago, how much more would Israelites be mixing at a time when they had lost their heritage? And it's not even that long ago. Yahushua was on the scene 2,000 years ago now. That was during the Roman Empire. Alright? From 70 AD till now, really isn't that big of a span of time, man. Because you had the Ottoman Turk Empire that was still ruling when they declared World War I. That's it.
This is Hosea chapter 7, verse 8. Ephraim, he had mixed himself with the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Yep, Ephraim is a cake not turned.
So even the northern, they were mixed. When it came to the Assyrian Empire, okay, the northern kingdom, they were scattered amongst these nations first, all right? So there's still Israelites that were scattered amongst Iraq, amongst Syria. If you remember, during the time of Kings and Chronicles, Judah and Ephraim were at war. And when Judah and Ephraim were at war, Ephraim went and started developing alliances with Syria and the Assyrians. So they were mixing even back then. You know when they went into captivity, the Assyrians went over those waters, and we were mingling amongst all those other little nations right there, man. You know, look at King David. King David's grandma, Ruth, she was a Moabite, you know? So this isn't something new of the Israelites mixing amongst other nations, you know? He said Ephraim, he had mixed himself amongst nations. Ephraim is a cake not turned. And you look at Israelites, they come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. Okay, you got Puerto Ricans, Ephraimites, super dark skin, and you got some super light skin. You got a lot of Ephraimites. Some look like Negroes, some look like Latinos, some look like fucking Arabs. You got a lot of Ephraimites that look straight up Middle Eastern. Why is that? Because Joseph was in Egypt, man. Joseph was in Egypt mingling amongst Ham out there. So I got even a lot of Ephraimites with fades, all the fucking flamboyant haircuts and shit, weird lineups. That's what they were doing in Egypt. That goes back to Egypt. You know, our laws and the scriptures tell us not to line your shit up. You know, so where do they get that? They got these customs from these other nations. Dealing with these other nations, they got their women, dealing with their women, still dealing with their ways, you know. But Ephraim, he had mixed himself amongst the nations. Ephraim is a cake not turned. You're gonna have all tribes that come in different colors, man. Just like this dude probably a fucking J.
That's the major truth. That, you know, even Esau doesn't want to come out. That's why, look at that the history of the so-called black Europeans. look how, I mean, even to this day, it's hard to find anything on it, man. Even with the internet, because they wanted that shit covered up completely, man. That's something they don't want you to know about. And if you didn't understand history and didn't understand if you don't understand history of the scriptures, you'll never figure it out, man. You won't understand it. Or you'll even come across the information and you'll reject it and deny it because you've been indoctrinated into this system. And the only fucking Europeans were so-called white people. If you read too many of these books and you don't understand the scriptures, you're going to be out here calling so-called white man Japheth. Alright? Because you have to understand, you have to have faith before you can start reading all these books and all this information. Because if you don't have that root, if you don't have the understanding of the scriptures, alright, all these different books that Jake likes to go into, you're going to be bugged out. Like that Jake that came up that one time talking about so-called white man is Japheth, man. He had all these different books that he was going into.
This is Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog and Madai and Javan and Tubal and Meshech and Tiras. The sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz and Riphath and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles, and another word for isles is islands. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. And the reason why I brought that out is because the original Europeans and islanders were Japhetic, another dark-skinned people, which by the truth would be Samoans, Hawaiians, Tongans, Filipinos, the islanders, the Australians. Those were all the people originally in Europe before Esau and Jacob went through there. Okay, Esau took down the Japhethites. That's why when you look at the whole Greek history, ancient Greek history, I forget what they actually call it, but when you deal with like the Minotaurs and all that, those are Japhethites. And Esau stole that heritage, as it tells you in the book of Habakkuk. Okay, he oppressed the man even in his heritage. So Esau went through there, did the same thing he did to Jacob, the iconoclasm and all that. It said this was his, not European. He calls himself European and Caucasian. He sticks to those vibes because he doesn't want you to realize he's Esau, that he's Edom. You know, that's why they fled from them. And then they try to blend themselves amongst all these nations. Right? You know, Esau's a chameleon. You know, Jake did go into Greece and all those areas too, because when the Greeks came into power, they had the known world in their hand, and Jake joined their ranks. That's why you got Jakes that were the Spartans, Lacedaemonians. When you read the Apocrypha, it says that we are brethren, that we're the stock of Abraham.
Isaiah 25:7, and he will destroy in this mountain.
This mountain, Esau is the main mountain on the world's name.
And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations.
That's Esau, man. All the deception that Esau pushes out. Okay, he's put a veil over the eyes of the world to where people don't understand who they are. They don't understand how lineage works. Okay, they believe in how he defined it. That you're dark skinned, you're black. Okay, that you're light-skinned, you are brown, you're brown. Okay, but it doesn't work that way. It works by your bloodline, by your spirit. Okay. Yeah, we don't deal with genealogy as in a sense of going to Esau and taking blood or dealing with your ancestry tree. We don't deal with that because all that's fraud. It's a fraud. But it does work that way. It does work by your bloodline. It does work that way. But the way Esau does it isn't accurate. Okay? He lies about it. You know? But that covering casts us in the world.
It's Revelation 20 and 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan.
Yeah, and that bottomless pit is dealing with Europe. Europe is called the bottomless pit, or known as the bottomless pit according to the scriptures, because it doesn't have very many natural resources. Okay. When you look at Europe, there's not much gold. There's not much gems there. You know, rare precious metals, there's not much of that there. There was at one time when the Apocrypha mentions that there was mines in Spain, but as far as that, there's no other part of Europe that had anything. It's the bottomless pit. You know, read again, Baba Shah.
It says, Revelation 21, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years.
Which is Esau. Okay, Esau is the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. Esau is the devil. Okay. The word devil means diablos in Latin, which is a slanderer, a liar, an accuser. Okay. That's Esau, that's Satan, that's the devil. So this angel, came over the bottomless pit, which is Europe, because this is when Esau was ruling. Alright, this is dealing with Rome at those times. And it said he bound him there, he bound Satan. Meaning Jake came up in the power. Jake rose to the top. And Esau was at the bottom for 1,000 years, which was roughly 300, 400 AD. Alright? Is when Satan, Esau was bound for those 1,000 years. And he came into power during the 13, 14, 1500s. Okay, they really started to rise back up like in the 1100s. But they didn't really stop Jake's power until the 15s. Okay, you had what you call 1492 is when the Moors got taken down by Edomites in Spain. Okay, the last stronghold that Jake had was Granada, Spain, which were Moors.
Said, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should.
And he set a seal upon him. This is all spiritual. Everything that we're preaching about, everything that we're telling you is spiritual. That's why we can't just go and attack Esau and take Esau down. Why? Because Esau has a seal on him as of right now. It's like the Lord, he puts a seal on you to weaken you, to curse you, and then he'll put a blessing on you. Well, the seal that's on Esau right now is a blessing. That's why Esau's in rulership right now. But back then it was for his time to go down. You know? Go ahead.
Said, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season.
Yep. We're in that little season right now. That Satan shall be loosed. That's why when you read Revelation 12 and 12, it says that he's going to come down and have a great wrath because of knowing his time is short. Okay, these devils know, they understand prophecy. They understand what we're saying. All right? That's why they're doing things at such a dramatic rate. You know, when it comes to
this thing is truly through faith. I mean, look at how far the truth has come. With very little information, but the information started coming out heavy when the internet came out. And Esau started getting exposed. Esau had a monopoly over information before the internet came out. And so Esau literally has all the records. Esau has the real history books. He has the actual history. He knows the lineage. He has genealogy, man. Esau has all the most important treasure in the world, which is information, the true information. Everything that we got comes from stuff that was leaked, secondhand information, secondhand accounts, some eyewitness accounts, to things that were going on back then, but you weren't there back then. So you got to take it from this person that was back then that wrote a book about it or whatever. But through the Spirit, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, you have faith, man, and you link the scriptures up with different things that these other characters are saying, and you put the pieces together. See, Esau has the book, man. And when I say the book, I mean he has all the information. So it's not something of faith to him. He fucking literally knows it. For us, it's by faith, because we link it all together, and through the scriptures we understand that it's the truth.
Yeah. Sure. Mm-hmm. This is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Yep, because our faith, well, you got to think about it like this. Somebody that's so passionate about something is because they know something. They have information about something that you don't have, right? So we're talking about the scriptures. So who else in the world do you see breaking down the scriptures the way that the Israelites do? The ones that really understand, all right? Nobody else in the world breaks it down like the way that we do, man. The way that the apostles, the elders do, the way that the brothers do, man. And the reason is because we know something that the majority of the earth doesn't know. We have an understanding that you don't have, man. And we have, Yahweh Shai gave us faith. Alright? And that faith increases the more that you learn, the more that you grow in knowledge and understanding, that faith increases. Alright? Because that information, hey, what is that scripture that talks about knowledge puffeth up? Why does knowledge puff us up, man? Alright? Because when you have a lot of knowledge, somebody that doesn't have that same amount of knowledge as you is in a sense inferior intellectually, man. So you might look at somebody that doesn't have as much knowledge as you do and look down upon that person. Because, hey, but when it goes to power, yeah, knowledge is power. So the more, but a wicked mentality is Esau. He has all this knowledge, but he hides it. Right? He tucks it away. In fact, he goes through all kinds of hell. He'll fucking lock the entire world down. Talk about there's a coronavirus killing everybody just to hide information. He'll drop a bomb on you. He'll drop a bomb on an entire country just to hide information, man. Just to cover up some wickedness that he's done, right? So a wicked ass mentality is somebody that has all this information but doesn't want to share it.
This is Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 1. At that time, saith the Lord, they shall bring out the bones of the kings of Judah, and the bones of his princes, and the bones of the priests, and the bones of the prophets, and the bones of the inhabitants of Jerusalem out of their graves. And they shall spread them before the sun and the moon, and all the hosts of heaven, whom they have loved, and whom they have served, and after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought, and whom they have worshipped. They shall not be gathered, nor be buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. which is dealing with archaeological evidence, man. Okay? Esau has evidence. He's done and undug, the graves, the tombs, the sarcophaguses of the kings of Israel, of the children of Israel. He's actually in Jerusalem today, still digging shit up. Why? Because Esau is not a faith-based man. He needs to see it. He needs to feel it to believe it's true. That's his way of proving to himself, because he's carnal, he's a brute beast. Okay? That's how another way we know who we are. We know the truth. Alright? Because Esau, he's done dug things up and showed it. Like when we talk about Hannibal, which when you understand the history of Hannibal Barca was a Jake that was living in North Africa that was at war with Rome. Okay, when you look at the quotes of Hannibal, it shows that he was a Jew. He got an afro, he got big lips, he got dark skin. And these were the Punic Wars. They had to do it right after the 70 AD and all that. It was like 200, 300 AD. When Hannibal started smashing Rome. I believe he won like 2 or 3 of the Punic Wars or something like that.
Well, there was 3 Punic Wars.
Okay, so he won like 1 or 2 of them. I believe he won 1 of them. Which Hannibal was a Jake. And Esau knows it. Esau likes to say, okay, he's an African. But if you understand history, he wasn't. And Hannibal is where you get the Vikings from, man. Okay, the original Vikings. But yeah, going back to them, they brought out the bones. And they said they placed them in the sun. They broke his tongue. That's why you can go to a museum. Okay, you go to a museum, all kinds of relics are there. For the world to see. Such a devil. All that is stolen. All that's stolen. Like the gold he was stealing from the Northern Kingdom. There's places in Europe that he's took gold relics there and just has them sitting there. Why would you feel if Asher or one of the tribes rose up and said, you know what? This is our ancestors. You need to place it back in our land and we can have a museum here. They'll say, no, fuck that. No, I discovered it. It's mine.
Yep.
But if you look, them, they had big old headdresses, man, made of gold, pure gold. Probably weighed pounds. Beautiful ones. But he ain't gonna give that shit back. Okay? And then all the lands in Europe, he says those are his, that he was there first, that was his, But it's all a lie. But Esau being a brute carnal man, he has to search things out to be able to believe it.
Esau ain't tripping on no gold, man. Esau don't give a shit about gold. He has all the gold. That's why we all deal with paper money. That's why he wants to bring in a digital currency. He owns all the gold mines. He has all that old money, all that old gold. Shit got bricks and bricks upon bricks of gold just locked away in a fort somewhere, man. Esau ain't tripping on none of that. He wants world domination, man. That's been his plan from the beginning, is to take over this world, man. Like that cartoon Pinky in the Brain. Yeah, Pinky, tell him, what are we gonna do today? So the same thing we do every day, Pinky. Try to take over the world. That's Esau. That's all he thinks about, man. How am I gonna take over the world, man? Revelation 20:7. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Why do you think we have World War III getting ready to happen? All right. This is all part of the Lord's plan, man. That's why we bring it out through the scriptures. This is all part of Yahweh Shem Yahushai's plan. That's why Esau got put in power, man.
Yeah, this is a precept to what the brother brought out in Revelation 20:7. How it said that he shall be loosed for 1,000 years. After the 1,000 years is up, he shall be loosed in a season to deceive the nations again. This is Revelation 18 and verse 9. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So they're being deceived to Esau's philosophy through the wine that he's given them. Okay. That's why they're going to lament and cry when they see the smoke of her burning, because they have done and made great business with Esau. Babylon the Great was America. So this nation going to cry because ain't nobody going to be buying their goods. Ain't no business to be conducted the way it does when America's on the road. They have lived deliciously with this place. Look at them other nations, man. They're doing hella good. Yeah, you might have some poor spots in Elam. For the most part, they're doing good, man. Elam got all the... It says Elam owns the most of the world's gold. Okay? You got China, they're like number 2 with the world's gold. You got Ham, look at Ham. Yeah, you got little poor clans of Ham. But when it comes to their leaders are sitting fat, man. Okay? Korea, they're sitting fat. Taiwan, all these countries are doing good. They have made league with Esau. The United Nations, they're living good. Deliciously, as the scripture says. Because they made a pact with the beast, with Esau. You know?
This Zephaniah 3:8 says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the fray. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even on my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. That's what we was talking about, just a minute ago. This is all part of the Lord's plan to bring these nations into war with each other, man. And the main driving vehicle to do that is the Esau Edom, man. Okay, these people go back to Esau. And when you look at the blessing of Esau, it tells you that there will be a period of time when he was going to have the dominion, and that he will be ruling with the force of the sword. All right. When you go into Revelation, it tells you that a great sword was given unto him. Revelation 6:4, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him, and sat thereon to take peace on the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. tell you, Revelation 20, it said that he was loosed. After the 1,000 years was up, he would be loosed to deceive the nations. That's why that's why the scripture talk about the covering cast. Because the biblical names of all these tribes of the nations of the earth have been changed and rearranged. And it's all to promote confusion. It's all to hide the truth. All right? That's why it's a covering cast. That's why it's a veil. All right? When you put a veil over your face, it's to hide your face so that somebody won't know what you look like. Somebody won't be able to see who you are. All right? And that's what Esau did. That's why Native Americans you call Indians. That's why you call Mexicans. You know, different names after the names of the Spaniards that came and conquered those lands. All right. That's why he calls you Gadites North American Indians, right? Because before Esau came over here and named this place America, that wasn't the name of the land. In the scriptures, this land was known as Tarshish.
And you look at the word Indian means savage.
That's why it talks about, you know, Esau calling lands after his own name. Psalm 49 and 11, their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. That's why Esau plans years and years in the future, man. That's why this is something that's been going on since the 13th century. You know, with iconoclasm, all these things. This was all part of a plan that's been getting rolled out for a very long time, man. Going back all the way back to Kagan Bullen. Now, Kagan is a title. Bullen is the person that held that title during the empire of the Khazars, man. They're the ones that took on Judaism. Why? Because you had the Muslims and the Christians were at war with each other, and so the Khazars took on Judaism because both the Muslims and the Christians took from the scriptures, right? And so they were able to call themselves Jews after that. That's when they took upon themselves the name Jewish, that they were Jewish people, Jewish, right? Because they took on that Judaism. And that's who's in the land of Israel today. Is those so-called, that's why we call them so-called Jews. Right? Because they're calling themselves Jews. Alright? It says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Alright, that's why Montezarium is called Egypt, which goes back to Egyptos. That's why Africa is called Africa. Goes back to something Scipio Africanus, which is a Greek. America, Amerigo Vespucci.
Yes, Scipio is a Roman.
Or Roman, Edomite, whatever. That's the covering cast that's been rolled out upon all these nations, man. All right, Ammon, they're called Japanese now. Moab's called the Chinese now. All right. You have some people that kept their names like the Syrians and the Assyrians and the Arabs are Ishmael.
Which Arab itself, it means mingled. You know, because if you read the scriptures, the Arabs were actually cliques of Elam, Ishmael together. You know, when you look it up, the word Arab in the Hebrew, it means mingled. You know?
Yep. And when you go back to the history of the Caucasus Mountains, those Arabs were dealing with the Edomites in the Caucasus because they were trying to convert them to Islam. And the Jakes that were Christians in the Byzantine Empire were dealing with certain tribes of the Edomites in the Caucasus because they were trying to convert them to Christianity.
Yeah, I believe the Moors were dealing with them too.
Yep. Yeah, because they were Muslims. And so the Arabs are mingled with Esau and Jake, man. So that's where it talks about two nations being in the womb, struggling with each other, right? And there's a lot of history, man. There's a lot of history. Goes into all these different things. Hey, that's why Albert Pike was talking about a third world war. Let me just get there with you. Jeremiah 49 and 20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom and his purposes. Right? What's Esau's purpose? To rule the nations with the sword, with violence. To try and bring about this new world order. To try to exterminate the Israelites. These are his purposes, right? To deceive the nations. Because if the Lord wrote this in the Bible, then that's what his purpose is. If he was bound 1,000 years, and after that 1,000 years, he was meant to be loosed from that captivity to deceive the nations again, that's one of his purposes, is to be a deceiver, to deceive the world. In which the main deception that he's going to bring out is that RFID microchip, man, the mark of the beast, which he's going to use to deceive the world. So it says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Edom and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And when you read Albert Pike, when he was talking about in his letter to the 3 World Wars, he said the Third World War will be brought about between the so-called Jews and Islam. What you see, Iran is their target, man. Iran is ran by Islam. That's their faith. That's what they believe in. And so when it talks about the least of the flock drawing them out, it's talking about the most hated group of Edomites, which is Amalek, man. Which were those ancient Khazarians, Kagan Bullet.
And that's going to start a coup in Iran. Because Iran Assyrians there, a lot of them. And when I chop it up with them, and I'll ask them, oh, you're from Iraq? And they'll be like, no, I'm from Iran.
A lot of them are from Iran.
And I'm like, oh shit, so you're a Persian? They're like, no, I'm Assyrian. And I was like, oh shit. One of them had like a tattoo of Cesare Borgia on a cross on his back. And I was like, so you guys are a Christian? And he's like, yes. But then I talked to some, and some are Muslim. You know, but there's a lot of them that are actually Christian. And they're there. There's a lot that are there in Iran, and a lot of them have families that are in Iran that are Christians still. So when this deal goes down, there's going to be a lot of them fighting for Persia. Because there's Christians. And this third world war is supposed to be going to be fueled by religion, which is Christianity and Islam.
Well, yeah, you look at the Middle East, that all the wars that have been taking place there are all fueled by it's all between Christianity and Muslims. And the so-called Jew is the head of Christianity, basically, man. Because even the Vatican will tell you, oh, those are the Jews, those are the Israelites, right? And so they're the head of Christianity. But they're also the head of the Muslims too. Because going back to Pagan Bullen, they took on Judaism because both the Muslims and the Christians took from that book. See, but they're using that to cause wars so that they can bring about that world war. Because, let me get this real quick. 2 Peter 3:3, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation, right? So there will be scoffers. I see more and more on the comment boards of different things that I watch when people talk about the Bible. They're saying that the Bible is wicked, that God is evil. Oh, God is down for stoning people and killing people and raping women and all this different stuff. So I see more and more, especially with the rise of this whole LGBT thing, you see more and more people are starting to look at religion and say that it brings about nothing but war and chaos. That's what they want. That's why they don't want you to understand the truth of the Bible. That's why they promote Islam. That's why they're trying to start this war, because they want to bring about a one world religion with this new world order. So they want to have people fight on the basis of these two religions so that they can come to an agreement that we need to revise religion, basically. And that's when they want to come out with Luciferianism. You know, the coexist thing. All religions mashed up into one, which again is what they were doing during the time of the Khazars in the Caucasus Mountains. They had a place in Khazaria where all these different people, their beliefs, they came together, and the Muslims were judged according to the Muslims, the Jews were judged according to the Jews, the Christians were judged according to Christianity, and the pagans still were pagans, and basically you were allowed to do whatever the fuck you wanted there. All right.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Which nothing shall be restrained from them, which they imagine to do, according to fucking wickedness, right? It wasn't something good. Okay, because if it was something good, the Lord would have said, you know what, well, it was wicked. All nations coming together, sharing thoughts with different agreements, different religions, it's fucking wicked. Because the scriptures say if two can't walk together, how can they be agreed? Okay, when Esau talks about everybody coming together He's talking about everybody coming together under his feet to participate in the wickedness that he publishes, man. Okay, look at this world the way it is right now. Nothing but fucking wickedness everywhere you look. And that's what he wants all nations to come under. It's all people coming under that banner of evil. I said evil.
Edel. Yeah.
Of evil.
Of Edel. Edelism.
I got more.
That's real.
It says, go to, let us go down in their confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, which is Babylon. Because the Lord took their confound language of all the earth. Says in the Bible.
I gotta come over here and see, check this out, see what this is about.
For sure.
You're an Israelite, bro. You're an Israelite. Israelite. That is. There you go. So, in the Bible, does it take you to 76? Yeah. In the Bible, it talks about a chosen people.